Wind howls through empty buildings, carrying sand through shattered windows. A crumbling opera house stands in the Nevada desert, red velvet curtains long gone. Stage collapsed, seats scattered like broken teeth. On the floor, what was once the general store, buried beneath decades of dust, lies a weathered ledger. Pages yellowed, ink faded but still legible. The last entry, dated October 1917. The dust is winning. This town once held 3,000 souls chasing the American dream. Miners, merchants, families seeking fortune in the harshest landscape imaginable. In less than a decade, they built a civilization. In less than a decade more, they watched it die. What happens when the promise of prosperity becomes a ghost story? When hope itself becomes a ruin? This is Prosperity, Nevada, where the American dream was built in brick and ambition, and where it crumbled back into the desert sand that never wanted it there in the first place. If you've ever chased a dream that slipped through your fingers, this story will hit home. Subscribe to Forgotten American Towns and Voices. Because Prosperity, Nevada, is a mirror reflecting every ambition that ever turned to dust. The Nevada desert in 1907 was brutal, unforgiving, and absolutely merciless. Summer temperatures climbed past 115 degrees. Rattlesnakes and scorpions owned the land. Nothing grew except sagebrush, cactus, and the kind of desperate hope that makes people do foolish things. Then Samuel Hackett changed everything. A veteran prospector who'd chased failed claims across Nevada and California for 15 years. Hackett was down to his last stake. One more attempt before admitting defeat and returning east with nothing to show for wasted years. His pickaxe struck something different in a remote canyon 20 miles from nowhere. Gold, real gold, high grade or gleaming in the desert sun. Word spread like wildfire through telegraph offices and mining camps. Newspapers in San Francisco, Denver, even New York ran headlines. Massive gold strike in Nevada desert. The rush began immediately. Miners abandoned exhausted claims in Colorado. Merchants sensed opportunity and closed successful shops to chase bigger fortunes. Farmers escaping debt sold everything for a wagon and supplies. Fresh immigrants stepped off boats in San Francisco and headed straight for the Nevada desert. Without seeing anything else of America, they came by wagon, horseback, even on foot, carrying everything they owned, leaving everything they were, believing the desert would make them rich. By 1908, the barren canyon had a name, Prosperity. Not subtle, not poetic, just raw, unashamed American optimism. A promise carved into the desert floor with pickaxes and determination. Tent camps became wooden structures. Wooden structures became brick buildings. A town rising from nothing. The American dream taking physical form in a landscape that had never supported human ambition before. Main Street appeared first, then cross streets. A town grid imposed on chaos. The transformation was intoxicating. People who'd been nothing back east could be something here. Prosperity didn't care about your past, only your willingness to work, dig, build, believe. Clara Whitmore arrived in Prosperity in 1909, 28 years old, widowed, practical in a way that survival demands. Her husband had died in a mining accident in Colorado, leaving her with nothing but determination and a small insurance payout. When she heard about Prosperity, she didn't see gold in the ground. She saw opportunity in the miners who needed to eat, to sleep, to buy tools and hope. Clara opened a general store on Main Street, sold mining equipment, food, fabric, medicine, and the kind of credit that kept families going between strikes. But her real legacy was the ledger, not just records of transactions, though she kept meticulous financial accounts. Clara documented a community, names, dates, stories written in margins. Sold canvas to the Peterson family for their first tent. Credit extended to 3 miners until their claim pays out. Mrs. Chin ordered fabric for her daughter's wedding dress. Yellow silk, her favorite. Through Clara's eyes, Prosperity exploded into life. 1910, population 800. The schoolhouse opened with 32 students. 1911, population 1,800. 2 saloons, the Golden Nugget and the Desert Rose, competed for miners' paychecks every Saturday night. 1912, Population 3,200. The Prosperity Hotel rose 3 stories, the finest establishment within 200 miles. And then came the town's crown jewel, the Opera House. Opened in 1912 with cream-colored facade and imported red velvet curtains. It was absurd and beautiful. An opera house in the middle of the Nevada desert. Culture and civilization planted in impossible soil. Community formed in unexpected ways. Church services held before any church was built. Just families gathering under canvas. Singing hymns while dust devils spun in the distance. Children playing in streets that hadn't existed 2 years earlier. Saturday night dances where miners cleaned up and pretended they weren't covered in rock dust 12 hours a day. The Ladies' Social Committee organized charity drives. The Volunteer Fire Brigade drilled weekly, terrified of the one disaster that could erase a wooden town in hours. Clara wrote in her ledger in June 1912, "Opera House opened tonight. Such music in the desert. We are civilized now." The mines produced staggering wealth. $2 million in gold extracted between 1910 and 1914. Some miners struck it rich and left. Most stayed, chasing the next vein, the next strike, always believing the big one was just a few feet deeper. Prosperity felt permanent. The railroad spur connected them to the world. Telegraph lines brought news. Children attended school. The future seemed boundless. But gold towns live and die by what's beneath them. And beneath prosperity, the gold was running out. 1915 brought whispers that echoed through mine shafts and saloons. Veins running thinner, or quality declining. Shafts going deeper, but finding less. Miners noticed first, but didn't speak openly. Superstition ran deep. Talking about decline made it real. And there was hope, always hope. Maybe the next shaft would strike rich. Maybe the geologists were wrong. Mine owners brought in expensive consultants from San Francisco. Surveyors tested, analyzed, compiled reports kept quietly in locked offices. The verdict was grim. The accessible deposits are nearly exhausted. 1916 brought visible changes. Fewer strikes were celebrating at the saloons. Some mines shut down temporarily. Everyone knew what that meant. Miners laid off with promises of rehiring when prices improve. Families began quietly leaving, not dramatic departures. Just wagons rolling out at dawn, avoiding goodbyes that made failure real. Clara noticed in her ledger, credit accounts growing longer. "Will pay when my claim comes through" appeared more frequently. Fewer purchases of luxury items. More basic necessities bought on promises instead of cash. The town tried maintaining optimism. The Opera House still hosted performances, though audiences shrank. Church still held services, though pews emptied. The school still taught children, though enrollment dropped. But the laughter sounded forced. The music felt melancholy. Everyone sensed the ending coming. 1917 shattered any remaining illusions. The major mining company announced closure, or deposits commercially unviable. 800 jobs lost overnight. Panic spread through prosperity like fire through dry timber. Families packed wagons in darkness. Store owners boarded windows. The hotel emptied. The railroad reduced service. Not enough passengers to justify the route. Clara's store became a gathering place for bad news. "Did you hear the Johnsons left last night?" The school might close, not enough students. "Someone's trying to sell the Opera House. Who'd buy it?" In October 1917, Clara opened her ledger for the last time, looked at the pages documenting years of growth. Hope community. She wrote 5 words. "The dust is winning." That was her final entry. No dramatic explanation. No lengthy goodbye. Just acknowledgement of inevitable defeat. Within months, Prosperity's population plummeted from 3,200 to fewer than 400. The dream was dying, and everyone knew it. Have you ever watched something you built start to crumble? Comment below, because Prosperity's story is every community that bet everything on a single dream. 1918 through 1920 brought the Exodus. It wasn't dramatic, just sad and slow. Families left at dawn to avoid goodbyes that made leaving feel like failure. Merchants sold inventory at devastating losses. Better to get something than abandon everything. Homes stood abandoned with furniture still inside. Too expensive to move. Too worthless to sell. The railroad pulled up its tracks in 1919. Took them for scrap metal. Prosperity's connection to the wider world severed. The town became an island in an ocean of sand. Clara Whitmore left in 1920, one of the last merchants standing. Her store's remaining inventory was worth more than she could carry. She left most of it behind, canned goods, fabric, tools. Took only her ledger, a record that anyone had been here at all. She took one last look at the town she'd helped build. Windows broken, doors hanging open, dust coating everything like a burial shroud. Then she left, and never came back. The Great Depression brought false hope in 1932. A small group of desperate men tried reviving the mines. New technology, renewed optimism. Maybe there was gold the old-timers missed. Maybe modern equipment could extract what pickaxes couldn't. For 2 years, a handful of families returned, occupied abandoned buildings with holes in roofs and rats in walls, tried restarting the general store, the saloon. Children played in the empty opera house, their voices echoing to the vast, deteriorating space. Ghosts pretended to be a town, but the gold was really truly gone. By 1934, the revival failed. The last families left. This time, everyone understood. No one was coming back. The 1940s and 50s saw only the stubborn few. Old-timers who had nowhere else to go. Men who'd spent their youth chasing gold here and couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Living in deteriorating buildings. Subsisting on memories and government checks. One by one, they died or left. No services to bury the dead. No doctor when illness came. No store when supplies ran out. By 1955, prosperity was truly empty. Population, zero. Just wind, sand, and the silence of abandoned dreams. The desert reclaiming what had been briefly, improbably borrowed. Today, if you drive to the Nevada desert searching for prosperity, you'll find ruins. What remains along what was once Main Street. Crumbling brick facades. The opera house with collapsed roof, but walls still defiantly standing. Remnants of the 3-story hotel. Windows empty, staring like hollow eyes. Foundation stones where homes once sheltered families. Rusted mining equipment half buried in drifting sand. A weathered sign barely legible. Prosperity POP 3200. Someone crossed out the number years ago. Nature has reclaimed its territory. Sagebrush grows through floorboards. Sand drifts through doorways. Rattlesnakes nest in the cellar of Clara's general store. Ravens make homes in the opera house rafters. The few tourists who come, photographers chasing haunting images, ghost hunters hoping for paranormal encounters, history enthusiasts documenting decay, families passing through taking selfies. They all feel it, the weight of abandoned dreams pressing down like the desert heat. Some claim the town is haunted. They report sounds of music from the empty opera house. Shadows moving in windows of vacant buildings. Voices carried on desert wind, speaking words no one can quite understand. Maybe it's haunted. Maybe it's just memory echoing through empty spaces. The echo of 3,000 people who believed, who built something real in impossible conditions, who watched their dreams dry up like water in the merciless sun. What's been lost isn't just buildings. It's stories of families who started over here. Marriages celebrated. Children born. Lives lived fully despite hardship. The daily rhythms of a boomtown. The feeling of possibility that once filled these dusty streets. Clara's ledger survived, donated to a Nevada Historical Museum. Researchers study it carefully. Names of real people who lived and hoped. Evidence they existed. Proof prosperity was more than ghost stories. But most of the town's history is gone. Personal letters blown away by decades of wind. Photographs faded or lost. Memories died with the last residents who remembered when this was home. The desert keeps its secrets. Beneath the sand lie foundations, artifacts, forgotten dreams. Prosperity's real story may never be fully known. A modern visitor wrote in an online forum, "Walking through prosperity, you can almost hear the town breathing. Or maybe that's just the wind. but it feels alive, somehow, like it's waiting. Waiting for what? To be remembered? To be understood? To have its story told? Maybe all three. Prosperity isn't unique among ghost towns. It's iconic of them. Across the American West lie hundreds of abandoned settlements. Bodie, California, Rhyolite, Nevada, St. Elmo, Colorado, all followed the same brutal pattern. Rise, boom, bust, decay. But each held thousands of individual stories. Each was someone's home, someone's dream. What does prosperity teach us? First, nothing built on a single dream is sustainable. Prosperity depended entirely on gold. When gold disappeared, everything collapsed. No diversification, no backup plan, no foundation beyond geological luck. Entire communities balanced precariously on what lay beneath the earth. Second, the American dream has a cost. People sacrificed everything to come to prosperity. Left homes, families, safety. Gambled futures on desert gold. Some won briefly. Most lost everything. The question haunts, was a gamble worth it? Would those 3,000 people make the same choice again? Third, community is both fragile and resilient. Prosperity built genuine community in the harshest conditions. People helped each other survive, created schools, churches, culture where nothing should exist, built an opera house in the desert, because humans need beauty even in brutal places. But when economic forces shifted, community couldn't survive alone. Social bonds shattered under financial pressure. Neighbors became memories. Friendships became letters that eventually stopped coming. Fourth, time reclaims everything. In 1912, prosperity seemed permanent. The opera house felt eternal. Buildings were solid brick meant to last generations. Yet 50 years later, ruins. 100 years later, nearly erased. The desert always wins. Always patient. Always reclaiming. The human element matters most. It's easy to see prosperity as an economic case study. Rise and fall of resource-dependent communities. Market forces and geological realities. But it was 3,000 real people. Clara Whitmore wasn't a statistic. She was a widow who risked everything to build something. The miners weren't just laborers. They were fathers, brothers, dreamers sending money home, hoping for better futures. The children who played in those streets had names, friendships, first loves, disappointments. When prosperity died, dreams died with it. Every town is built on hope. Some just show us what happens when that hope runs out. If this story resonates with you, share it, because prosperity's lesson is more relevant now than ever. Stand in prosperity today. Close your eyes. Listen to the wind through broken windows, across weatherwood, through the empty opera house. Can you hear it? The echo of hammer on anvil. Children's laughter in the schoolyard. Music drifting from the opera house on Saturday nights. Clara Whitmore's voice entering another name in her ledger. We've built something real here. Something that will last. Open your eyes. It's just wind. Just ruins slowly returning to sand. But for a moment, prosperity was alive again. That's the thing about ghost towns. They're not really dead, just sleeping, waiting for someone to remember, to tell their story, to acknowledge they mattered. 3,000 people lived, loved, worked, and dreamed here. They built schools for children who would leave, churches for faith that couldn't save them, an opera house for culture that couldn't survive economics. They deserve to be remembered, not as failure, but as proof that humans will always chase the horizon, build the impossible, plant gardens in deserts, create beauty in brutal places, and leave behind ruins that still speak of hope. Prosperity, Nevada, where fortune was found and lost, where the American dream built an opera house in the desert, where dreams turned to dust but left something beautiful behind. The buildings crumble, the streets disappear, the names fade from memory, but the story endures. And somewhere in the Nevada desert, if you listen carefully to the wind, you might hear it still. The echo of 3,000 voices that once believed prosperity was possible. Even here, even in the dust. Subscribe to Forgotten American Towns and Voices to hear more stories of the places that shaped America and then vanish into memory. Because every ghost town was once someone's home. Every ruin was once someone's dream. And every abandoned main street was once filled with life. Don't let them be forgotten. This is Forgotten American Towns and Voices. Until next time, remember that even the dust has stories to tell.